Hey everyone, we're going to here to talk about soul-led living with Alex. Hey Alex, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
All good. So actually, I'm going to start with a different thing. Tell me one piece of advice you would give everyone who listens and watches this. Let's start with that.
Whoa, that's such a blanket piece of advice. Oh my gosh. But we're talking about soul living. So I would say, um, really think about how are you living? Are you really living how you desire? And so my piece of advice is explore and get curious. And if you are not, yeah, just get curious, is my best piece of advice.
I love that. So now tell us a little bit, two things. I want to just throw it out there and you can just roll with it. Tell us a little bit about your journey that caused you as a CPA to decide to start living more from the soul, from the head, and then how you help your clients bridge that or what you do for clients.
Okay, now see that second question, and you may have to remind me because I have two children, and I swear the second one took my brain cells, what was left of them. Um, and so I'll share a little bit. Yeah, I am a CPA. I'm also a certified financial planner, but that I don't believe was always my path to be that. I have a 20-year-old and a 6-year-old at the time that we're recording this. And when I graduated high school, a couple months later, I had my first daughter. So I'm 18 years old and I had to make a living. I'm a single parent, and I needed to know that I was going to have a good job, make good money, and it was going to be stable. And so I went into accounting. And so accounting wasn't this like becoming a CPA wasn't on my vision board growing up. It wasn't. It was a choice I made for stability. And what I actually wanted to do was be a psychologist, but I mean, like, it was just going to be too much school and money and all the things. And so I go into this line of work, and I'm there. I'm making a great living, more money than I've ever made. I grew up in a low income, like I'm third generation single parent, so it wasn't an environment where I saw a lot of successful people that looked like me. That just wasn't the case. And so I enter this industry that's predominantly male and white, and I'm kicking butt. I'm doing great, making the money, doing all the things, but it was draining my soul. My relationship with my oldest daughter suffered because I was working 60, 70 hours a week trying to keep up with everyone else. Like I was like everyone else. And the truth is, I wasn't. And so I spent about a decade in public accounting. And then finally, I got to the point I now had my second daughter and decided I don't want to repeat what happened with my first daughter. And I'm just drained. I've known I did need to be in this industry for about 6 years at this point. And I started getting curious about, okay, well, what do I want? And I came across a post on LinkedIn from a life coach. And I had been in therapy because like 6 years prior to that, I had gone through a crisis where I was like, I need to get out of public accounting, and got advice, all sorts of advice that it eventually led me to therapy, which is great because I never would have explored that before. But then with the life coach and then the desire to be like, I have to get out of this, it really just got me curious and set me down a path of doing more personal development, which I hadn't done before. And so then that is how I ended up here in a position now where working with clients, yes, I look at numbers and I'm great at that, but I look with with my clients, I also look at what is it that they desire, like they're the core of what it is that they want. And then I start looking at, well, what's stopping them from getting there? And then I'm bridging the gap. So not only do I have the technical expertise to help with bridging the gap, like, okay, well, what does the money look like to get there? But now, what are some of beliefs that we're holding that's stopping them as well?
That's awesome because a lot of people don't associate beliefs around money and like that being an issue. But what have you found is like a common belief that is a struggle to get to our goals financially?
A lot of times worthiness actually comes up. Worthiness is huge, and it's like tied in so many different areas. And then when you actually start peeling back all the layers, you're like, oh, this is a worthiness situation. So really feeling like I'm worth the life that I say that I want. I think that's probably the biggest one because what happens is my clients will say that this is what they want, but then I see like the self-sabotaging behaviors. I see not making decisions with their money that's actually in alignment with what they say that they're wanting, not standing in and making certain boundaries. So I would say the biggest one is that worthiness.
I think for women, that's the key to all of it. I think was my key. That was the key I see in my clients too, is like, am I really worthy? And when you
Yeah.
have like trauma from childhood, mother-daughter issues, I think it gets compounded. And
Yes.
it does. It permeates everything in our lives. And it's funny because I was just talking to another client this morning and making decisions around money. And that came up. And the worthiness of having it, but it's also that instant, this is easier. And
Oh yeah.
that's the other thing. I don't know if you see this, but I see like in clients, like sometimes it's like, I'm gonna need a new car. I'm gonna need college funds. I'm gonna need a new house. And I'm like, but when? Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know, 10 years from now. And so they get so overwhelmed in that they can't make the decision today.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
How do you help them? Like, we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, we do, but let's not because that overwhelms you and causes you to have bad decisions today. So, how do you help clients deal with that?
I first tell them to take a pause and take a breather because a lot of times it's like, so it's like, hey, take a breath. That's the first step. Let's
Yeah.
breathe, breathe for a second. And then I just remind them, and I think sometimes it's an arrogance that we think we have 10 years and 15. And so I say, we don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow. I say, we're putting a lot of pressure on 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. I said, today with who you are and the information that you have today, where do we move? And just to really, and I don't know what that word, but it's just I guess a little bit of a reality check almost of, hey, chill out. Hey, we're not performing heart surgery. We're not saving baby whales. Like it's it's money. Things can change in an instant.
Hmm.
And we're focused so much on this future and like we don't know what that looks like. What do we have today? And so I really trying to give them perspective.
I love that. So, another thing that comes up, and I feel this is it's around the worthiness and stuff, and I'm interested in your perspective on it. Um, is like we have these really big goals, as $1 million in my business, because I know you work with a lot of entrepreneur women and they want to grow and all this stuff. Yet they struggle to even have 50,000 in their business.
Yes.
How do
Yeah.
you help them switch the mindset? How do you help them break the cords around mindsets that it's okay because you got to be able to get to 50,000 before you can get to 1 million.
Right. Yeah. You, I always like to start with why. Like when you have this number in mind, like really, and even before we get to the why, or maybe we do it together, but like what is your actual number that you need and desire? Like let's focus on that because sometimes it's like you have this big, huge number in mind, but that's not even what you need or desire or want. It's just maybe you've got some programming from, oh, to be successful, you have to be a seven-figure business owner. And I don't know why I changed my voice for that, but like we hear that, right?
Because it's
We
that's how we've been hearing it.
Yeah, right. And that's just like, and if you don't want that, then you're playing small. If you're not da da da
Yep.
da da. And so I really go to what do you actually want? That's the first step. What is it that you actually want? And then let's put a number to it. Let's put a number to the lifestyle that you actually want. And then let's go a little bit deeper and say, okay, why do you want that lifestyle? Because now I want my clients to anchor in to see, is this something that they even want? Because sometimes once we start getting into the why, once they pick these numbers, they realize, oh, that's actually something my mom wanted for me. that's actually something my
Mm.
spouse wants for me. Oh, that's actually something I feel guilty and feel like I'm obligated to do. It's actually not something that I want. And so once we identify the what and then we get anchored in with the why, now we're actually getting it to the core of okay, how much do you actually need? And by then, now we're operating from a place of a solid foundation. And when you're operating, it has been my experience when working with clients, when you actually are rooted in your core, the activities that you need to do and move forward to reach that goal, it feels more attainable. I find that my clients will have more consistent action that they're taking, and then they also give themselves more grace because now they're know that okay, I'm working towards a bigger purpose, and so they're navigating how they're getting there. Now they're not just accepting whatever. And so that's typically how I work with my clients on navigating and seeing, okay, well, I need to start here before I get to this big number, but make sure it's something you actually want first off, you know?
I love that. So it sounds like you bring a lot of that desired psychology that you wanted into the accounting side of it. How has that changed your life and your business?
Oh, it it's just it it was game changing. And the reason I say that is because especially with money, there's a lot of shame that comes up around money. And I know for me, my experience was I judged that a lot. So I'm someone who has debt in my background, and I work with women who are dealing with debt and things like that, especially when you're smart and successful, and that's who I am in the family. I'm the successful one, and I feel like there's this pressure on me to be successful and know everything. And a lot of the women I attract and work with, that's who they are in their friend group. And so when you have those feelings of shame that come up, a lot of times you sabotage yourself, or like you're judged even when you can't even see that you've been successful. You rarely even see what has worked well, that you're constantly like, yeah, but this. And so adding that psychology part of it really has just allowed me to be more compassionate with myself. And because of that, now I'm being able to be more compassionate with my clients and being able to teach them. And I don't even say teach because that seems something, but introduce them to a different way of thinking, because the world does a really, really great job of showing you what you're not doing right. And it should be better than this. And it should be that, as opposed to just really accepting who you are and working on like yourself and trusting that everything else is going to work for you around you. And so it's just taken up just so much more pressure off. I am so much less filled with anxiety. And I feel like my clients get to have that feeling around me. Like when you leave, you're like, oh, I like that wasn't so bad. It's like a weight gets lifted off of you when you have that mindset piece and you're actually addressing it, because that's where the change really happens. Because you could like on paper be doing all those things, but if your thoughts around it and your feelings around it haven't changed, you got the $1 million in the bank and you still hate your life.
That
What's
is
the
so
point?
true. That is so true. Something came up with to me when you were talking about the women that you work with and being the successful one in their friend groups. Do you find a lot, I mean, because we talked about worthiness issues, but do you also find a lot of your clients have a history or still dealing with people pleasing?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And you know what's so interesting is we tend to mirror our clients, right? Probably when you work with clients, they have similar issues that you've had to navigate or you're still navigating. And yes, spot on, because recovering people pleaser right here, overthinker right here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, me too. Me too. And I'm still in the act of recovery at times, different
Yes.
things. It's still something I have to work with because I'll tell you, with the people pleasing part, success also means you have to give to everyone. And
Yes.
how can I give more? And that's the part, and I see that in a lot of people. It's like, well, how can you give more? You're already giving so much, but if I actually have success, I can't keep it for me. That's selfish. I have to give it to them. So
Yes.
how do you help clients break that pattern? I mean, the, I know that that's a 6 month process or a year-long process, but how tell me some things you've done to help people break that process of being I'm the successful one and I'm the people pleaser. So I always buy the food out. I'm always the one who has to plan this or pay for that.
Mhm. I have them look at their numbers. We sit and we look at the numbers and actually see when you start looking at what you're bringing in versus what you're going out, what's going out, and then actually think about what is your return on that. So when you're giving to people and actually start thinking about, okay, well, what did I actually receive in return for this? Sometimes it's just that awareness. You're like, whoa. I had one particular client, her issue was debt. And when we actually went and had her write out all her debts and we started looking at it. And so when I work with clients with debt, there's this good debt versus bad debt. I actually go and have people identify how did you define this good or bad, but not just with did you get a return on it? What feelings came up? What experience did you have because of this, right? Because it could be, if you got into credit card debt because you took a trip with your father who was passing away and this is a life and like had he passed away, this didn't happen, you would have regretted it. Like that's a good debt. Like that's something you can't get back. But with this client, what we noticed with her is her debt was to save people who hadn't prepared for their own stuff. And when she actually started looking, the majority of her debt was because she was helping somebody else. She got help. She was responsible for holding the bag. She's paying all the interest on it. Her credit is the one that tanked. And we actually just got real without judgment. We're just saying, what happened here? Look at these numbers. And a lot of times that's enough to say, wait a minute, I'm actually looking at the facts here. And the facts are showing me that I can't afford to continue to behave this way with my money to save others.
I love that because that is, I mean, I think that is a big issue for a lot of women. And I love how you talk about good debt, bad debt. I mean, because like I said, I've told people, so surprisingly, I actually have a degree in accounting. I'm like, I'm so far on the woo-woo side. People are like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, really, I can do accounting too. But we always think of debt as just bad. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but you're right. And I love how you connected an emotional gain to offset the dollar debt.
Yes.
Sounds to me like that's a key to how you work with clients.
Oh, for sure, because it's feelings. That's what our body remembers, right? And even if you're associating debt as being bad, but then when you actually go and trace it back, you're like, wait a minute, that actually that doesn't make me feel bad. You can start rewiring. I guess it's like changing the story behind it. And that's what it is. It's changing the story because we can connect stories to something and then depending on what the story is, it causes this negative connotation. Now, I'm not saying this to just be like a just get into debt and just say, well, it made me feel good, so it's okay. Like you have to be willing to really be honest with it and hold yourself accountable on the times where you're like, you know what? That probably wasn't such a great investment, right? I did what I did and now I can move forward from it. But holding it and judging it doesn't do anything to serve you.
And I love that because I'm sure that's very different than most people are who are watching this have ever heard. And that's what makes Alex unique. So tell us a little bit about how people work with you, how they get a hold of you, like all the things, because I know people are going to be like, I'm that person. I want to change my relationship to money, and I want to do it with someone who actually understands money.
Yes. Yeah, so it's very interesting. I'm actually like I'm changing the way I work with clients because of what lights me up and what I've seen. And the experience that I have, and I do recognize that my approach is very fairly unique. I did not guess I always realized it, and now I'm seeing, I'm like, oh, this is unique. And so I primarily work with women. It's not that I will shun away fellas, but my passion is with women because I know I didn't have that. And I also know that in the financial space, women are not very represented by other women, and they are tired of being, what is it, mansplained. And so I and so I work with clients in a group setting. I actually have a course start called Jumpstart Your Financial Freedom, and it goes through 6 core elements that I personally used. And I didn't share this, but I paid off over $50,000 in debt in one year, saved $24,000 so that way I could confidently leave my 9 to 5. And so I talk about those like tangible steps of understanding where your money is going, creating the spending plan, paying off debt, leveraging credit, all of that. But then I also bring in the mindset because the reality is that if you don't change the way you think about money and if you can actually achieve what you desire, I can give you the strategies. You're not going to do them. And so I was like, what's the point? And so that's in a course. And then I personally believe that you need a community. You need a tribe of people who are cheering you on, who are supporting you, because that was a game changer for me. So I basically built what I wish I would have had now, having gone through this process and spent probably $100,000 on business coaching and therapy and life coaching and all those things. I now know different. And community, you need to have it, especially when you're like the black sheep who's got it all going on and has it all figured out. You need people that sharpens your iron. As much as you pour into others, you need that coming back. And so it also has a community element. So for clients who are like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to do some things on my own, but I want to have community, that's a perfect fit for them. And then I also have where you can work with me in a one-to-one setting. And that's for the person who really wants, look, I need your eyes and ears on what I have going on to give me personalized strategies. So I work with clients in that capacity. And then for a very small group of women, once a year, I actually host a retreat. It's at the end of the year. And it's really cool because it's the opportunity to come in and reset. Because a lot of the women I work with are burnt out, hustling, doing the most for a dollar. And it's really about coming in to have that reset, being in, like I said, in community, and then we being able to map out what do you want the year to look like, but not just from a monetary place. Like, how do you want to feel? What do you want to feel like next year? So make sure that we're building like financial strategies that are in alignment with not only your numbers, but how you want to feel. So I don't know if I answered that, but that's kind of how clients can work with me. And I'm really proud of it because, like I said, I spent a lot of money chasing the next business strategy and the this and the that. And had I took more time to actually figure out what it is that I actually wanted and working through the beliefs that were working against that, I would have saved so much money and time and then actually knowing my numbers. Because sometimes you freak out like, oh my God, the sky is falling, everything is falling apart. But then you actually look at the facts of your money, you're like, oh, wait, I'm fine. I'm fine, you know?
Well, I mean, I keep going back and I've got a new tagline for you if you're not using it, but you're the feeling CPA. Because, I
Mm,
mean, like that, I think is like in the mind, I won't even say mindset because we've heard so much about that.
yeah.
But I think your program helps women break the feelings around shame and worthiness
Yes.
and people pleasing and so what success is. And when you're in that group, sounds like you're redefining success on an individual level, not success that we've been told we have to have, but success on what is their success. And I love that. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's and I think the group, I go back to the people pleasing and having that group community to hold yourself accountable to is like, oh, am I going to go tell
Yes.
them I bought everyone lunch because I needed to?
Yeah.
Like I said yes to a lunch when I knew she wasn't going to be able to afford it. So, it's like, well, okay. But if you know they're not going to be able to afford it, is you have to decide was it worth it and what are you going and where do you want to go? And I love that
Exactly.
you create that community of accountability and support for people.
Yes, because it's key. And that's what I learned when I was out in silo just trying to do it by myself. It didn't work because to your point, having the accountability and then just having a safe space to say what's
Hmm.
going on. Like that is everything.
I mean, it is because I think for women who become successful in their business, whatever that means for their business, for them,
Exactly.
um, I think it becomes very hard for women to share that in a safe, without, okay, the only thing that keeps coming up to me, we'll make this one PG, is that I'm not a bitch because I've got money. You know,
Yes.
and there's that mindset of, well, if they have money, so many times as women, we've done this to each other. It's, I don't know why we do this to each other, but she must be a bitch because she's carrying X purse. She's
Yes.
not approachable. Look at her. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
do that. We judge each other based on that money mindset that we can hold on for ourselves. So
Yeah.
to create a community where it's like, you know what? She's really not a bitch, but she's super successful.
Yeah.
Maybe I can be successful because my biggest fear is everyone's going to perceive me as a bitch if I'm successful. And when you're in that community and you're watching someone in their, I, I'm going to say the word even mentoring, even if they don't realize they're mentoring, but you're in that community together and that's what happens. And then you've got Alex on top of this who's like, we're all okay and we're going to feel our money because that's where the success really is. It's not on the P&L sheet, it's on your feelings.
Yes. It really is. Like, I mean, I don't have anything else. I have nothing else to add. I don't because that's ultimately what I'm doing because I work with clients and I've been through it myself where we create anxiety in us that's not necessary. Because when we actually look at the life that we're living or the things that we're doing, I find often we're like, oh my gosh, I'm living what I prayed about, but causing it to be anxious because it's not meeting someone else's standard. Eliminate that. And even say you have a vision for your life and you're like, man, I'm not there yet. Okay. How can we constructively create a plan to get you there as opposed to beating yourself up, talking to you like you would never speak to a child, but yet you're belittling yourself and condemning yourself? And it's just like, no, life is so short. And when we actually peel back the layers and really like actually take that at heart, when we look at those people in LA, when they woke up that morning, when those fires started, do you think they ever imagined that by the end of the night, their homes and all their belongings would be ashes? I can't imagine they thought that, not once. And the other thing I think is like, do they actually give a crap that they didn't have their $10,000 month? And now it's like, no, all we have is today. And if I can do anything to just help people regulate themselves around money, yes, yes, I want to create a plan. I'm a Virgo, so I'm a plan creator. Do you
I
hear
was going to
me?
say you're a certified financial planner. Is that what
Right,
you're
right. And
talking?
so I get it, but we do not have to cause ourselves to have anxiety around it. We need to like, yes, understand our money, have a plan for it, but we do not have to judge ourselves and make up these stories about what something looks like. It's like, okay, well, we can work around that. And so that's just where I'm at because I just had so much anxiety. Being in entrepreneurship full time for 3 years, I feel like this is probably in the last 6 months. I told somebody, I said, I think I've done everything short of an exorcism at this point. Um, to really work through some of these beliefs that I have that have really stopped me from showing up and showing am I excellent and just trusting that things are going to work out. You make your plan, you do your work, and then at some point you have to let go. And I just know that money brings up so many different things. And if I'm going to do my part in this world of showing people, don't let that stop you because it stops you from showing up and serving the people that you're supposed to impact. And where's the world at when you're not showing up and you're like with your gifts? Like I feel like we are all given these gifts. And a lot of times money makes you not be able to just feel like, oh, I can do this. And I genuinely don't want that. And I'm figuring it out as I go. But I know even and I just had this epiphany a few days ago. I want to work with coaches and consultants specifically in this area because we are heart led, we're soul led, and we want to help like literally change the world when you actually start like that individual because when that person changes, they can the way I parent is different because of the work that I've done with my own coaches. And so to be able to help others feel confident to go out in this world and practice their gift, it really, really lights me up. And so these are just like even my own ahas I'm having because I'm doing this exact work.
And we talk about it in the coaching world that we don't have to be experts. We just have to be ahead of our clients. We've
Yeah.
already put in the work. And I think that's what you're saying. You've come out of debt. You've changed the mindsets. You've opened your business. You're now living your business. So you're ahead of the client who's like, here's what I want to do.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
one last question. And I'm trying to, it's like there. So how do you recharge your soul when the business of being in business gets to you?
Oh man, I have support. So I am someone who I invest in support around me. And now I'm lucky. I have a lot of friends who are coaches. And so like just having a conversation with them, I realized, oh, I just got coached. But before I had that, I would invest in mentorship or having some community somewhere where like when I'm feeling down, it's like, okay, I need to go in here and get support in that way. And then I regulate my nervous system. So for me, I enjoy breath work. Breath work has probably been the most consistent thing that has helped me shift. I've recently started EFT tapping, which was I was like, this is so weird. What is this? But it actually has been very, very helpful for me, and it helps me recharge and navigate through some of those feelings. And then what works for me also is going out in the sun and being in nature has worked for me really well. And so for me, I find what works and then I just do more of it. And so for me, that helps me recharge my batteries. And are you into human design, Michelle? Are you
I
okay?
am, but I don't do that. I mean, my focus, I mean, yes, I understand human design. I have experts in human design that I consult with, but mine is really the connection to the goddess divine feminine
Oh, okay.
in us. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, that's kind of, I don't, mine is just a little different, but mine is the goddess energy within all of us. And that's what
Which,
I have
yeah.
found through that worthiness is I struggled with worthiness for years.
Mm,
And until I started shifting to see myself as the goddesses, the universe see me, I
mm,
still struggled with it.
yeah.
But when I start seeing myself through their eyes, or I see people through their eyes, I'm like, everyone's got this worthiness. We are
Yeah.
so worthy. And I talk about this in the book I co-authored, but we so often write, I am worthy when, and we
Mm,
want to fill in a blank.
yeah.
I am worthy when my business makes $100,000. I am worthy when I've done this. I am worthy when my kids are happy. I'm
Mm,
worthy, blah, blah, blah. And my personal experience has been with the goddesses is that they stop me. And it said, and it's the statement is, I am worthy,
period.
period. And that's how they see you. That's how they feel about you. That's how they want you to see yourself. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of where I am. And then that's how, and then I, use that to become soul led. Like I'm not just in my head, judgment, conditioning, and all of that. When I see myself as the goddesses see me, then I can do this. But
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting with the work you're doing that you're taking that soul led worthiness, mindset, all those things. And it's like you're drawing the map to the head and the very finite, realistic, head driven financial planning.
Yeah.
But that map is a unique process per person because it's about the feelings, along the way. And I don't think there's many, I mean, I've, like I said, I was an accountant, and I work with accountants and I've worked with financial planners and I work at that. And it's like, well, well, this doesn't make me feel very good. They're like, I don't care. It's the numbers, like the numbers say. And I'm like, ah. And so I thought, I love that you're pulling the two together. And like I said, it's like I mean, your tagline should be the feeling CPA because you're the feelings and the CPA together, like, because I mean, you're in the world. Most CPAs are very boring, right? And
Most of them are. No, no one ever guessed that I'm a CPA. I will say that. That is never what someone would say.
exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, they're very boring. They're by the books. Let's have a conversation. It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no conversations, only these things. And it's like, wait, but there's so much more. And again, I just love you, Alex. But I'm like, the fact that you help women entrepreneurs who we know we have this mission, we know we have this calling in our life.
Yeah.
And we have to bridge between being soul led and mind reality. It's a business.
Yeah. Right, right. Because the reality is to run a business, you have to look at your numbers and understand your money and all of that. Like you need both.
Right.
You need both. It's not one or the other. It's both. I'm all about manifestation and things can fall out the sky for us 10,000%. But and also we want to look at the numbers because when it falls out the sky, we want to make sure we know how to use it and put it where it needs to go.
That's it. I love that. So I'm just going to say anyone who is a female coach, consultant, wanting to look at your numbers, wanting to really dive into your money mindset with the practical, actual numbers, not just the mindset around money, look up Alex. Alex is going to give us all of her contact information. It'll be listed below. And I just can't wait to hear how your groups grow and how your retreats are going to have to be more than once a year because you've got so many people who need to go on them to reset and make their plan.
Oh, I'm speaking that into the atmosphere, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you.